IVC, Dale Gatefield 33 here to do a quick thread response video to a video that Rob Walker put up a few days ago where he'd gone through and he was matching albums that were released on the same day and sort of saying which one of those he preferred. And I've just seen Richard McCook has done a response as well, so I thought I'd better get in before I run out of options from my collection. So yeah, so there were a few that sprung to mind, and one that Rob showed, the Kinks Are the Village Green Preservation Society against the Beatles' White Album, was one that immediately sprung to mind because I think I've said before I put notable dates in the calendar on my phone, either dates of birth, dates of death, or album release dates, as a kind of repeating annual calendar event. So they pop up on my phone and they kind of give me inspiration to say, oh yeah, I'll give that a listen as it's its birthday, or oh, it's that person's birthday, I'll dig something out by them. And yeah, that Kinks album and a couple I'm going to show here are on here, so they immediately sprung to mind. But the rest I had to resort to searching Wikipedia for and for ones that I had, which was an interesting exercise. So I've got, like Rob did 10 pairs, I've done 10 pairs as well. So let's get on with it. And I've got this list here, which I don't know what I'm going to do with. So I'll start with my first thing I'm going to show is a CD. It's the only CD, so it's the only one I haven't got on vinyl. I used to have a copy on vinyl, but it was a bit crackly, so I got rid of it. And that is the Cure Disintegration. So we're talking 2nd of May 1989, the Cure Disintegration. So this is the 3 CD deluxe edition I have of that album. Released on the same day was the Stone Roses debut album. So yeah, 2 stellar. So I've started, and I should have said I've gone through I probably had 20 or 30 choices. But I've gone for ones that I think are pretty interesting matchups. So and these 2 are interesting matchups. Yeah, and I remember the Stone Roses. So became aware of the Stone Roses from feedback from my then girlfriend, now wife. So when this was out, she was teaching, and it was sort of, I think she was teaching at probably 10, 11-year-olds. And they were talking about the Stone Roses at the time, and I kind of was into music. Well, I've always been into music, but I kind of dug it out and so discovered them through some 10-year-olds telling my wife about the Stone Roses when that kind of Manchester baggy scene was going on, even though I was in Buckinghamshire at the time. Right, so yeah, I'm going to say though that my favourite is this. I love a bit of melancholy goth. So although they're both great albums, it's a difficult choice. The Cure just edges it. Okay, next up we're into 1974, 17th of January 1974. So Bob Dylan released Planet Waves, strong album, often kind of, not overlooked, but not one that's often put forward. And on the same date, Joni Mitchell released Court and Spark, and Court and Spark is certainly vies for my favourite Joni Mitchell album. So of the 2, Court and Spark just wins out, but again, tough choice. Okay, so as I said, Rob showed a Kinks album and Richard also showed a Kinks album, so I thought I would show a Kinks album as well. So we are talking now 10th of October 1969, and the Kinks released Arthur, or The Decline and Fall of the British Empire. Fantastic album, absolutely fantastic album. And on the same date, 10th of October 69, fantastic album with a corner ding on it now. On the same date, King Crimson released In the Court of the Crimson King, kind of renowned proto-prog album. But for me, there is no competition. That's a bit of a ding. No competition. It's the Kinks every time. I struggle a bit, if I'm honest, with that King Crimson album. Struggle with King Crimson, full stop. I'm going to be a bit more careful now. I don't want to drop any more albums. So where are we? We're now in 1985, 16th of September 1985. Kate Bush released The Hounds of Love. This is an audio fidelity gatefold edition on grey marble. I've got several copies of this album. It, as I've said many times before, it's touch and go between this and Dreaming as my favourite Kate Bush album. So What Poor Sacrificial Lamb is coming up against this on the 16th of September 85. So The Waterboys, This Is the Sea, an album that I really, really enjoy. Great album by The Waterboys, but absolutely no competition. It's Kate Bush, Hounds of Love. Okay, so we're now back into the 60s, 8th of December 67, and an album I showed recently, actually, on my Lost in the Collection, that I revisited, Traffic's Mr. Fantasy. So Traffic, Dalliance, or their biggest kind of pop psych enterprise, an album that I kind of like but don't love, and another album that I like but I don't know if I love it, released on the same date. What date was it? 8th of December 67. Rolling Stones, Their Satanic Majesty's Request. So I do like this album because this is the deluxe fold out double CD, double vinyl edition with the lenticular sleeve, and yeah, so probably you can guess, given I've invested in this, this is the winner for me. Despite it's got a few clunkers on it, I think overall I prefer this album to Mr. Fantasy. Right, let me get some more albums. So what's next? Okay, next up we're on 3rd of July 1969, and a couple of releases on the Island record label. First up, the debut album from Nick Drake, 5 Leaves Left. Fantastic album by a fantastic artist who died too young. On that same date, one of 3 albums released that year by Fairport Convention, Unhalf Bricking. Potentially my favourite Fairport Convention album, and I think of the two, it's a tight run thing, but Fairport Convention's Unhalf Bricking wins out over Nick Drake's 5 Leaves Left. Okay, we're now moving forward to the 80s, 28th of September 1987, and the Depeche Mode released the great album, or the album Music for the Masses, kind of bit of a transition album, some great songs, kind of just slightly moving away from their much more synthy pop through into the darker kind of music that they went on to produce. And on the same date, 28th of September 87, the Smiths released their final studio album, Strange Ways Here We Come, which I'm not sure what my favourite Smiths album is, but this is certainly up there. So which of these? It's, again, this is a really hard choice. I think I'm just going to go for Depeche Mode, but ask me on another day and I probably could have gone for the Smiths. Okay, a couple of solo artists, artists who were in bands now branching out with their solo career. First up, we've got Rod Stewart. So this is, what's the date on this? 28th of May 71. Every Picture Tells a Story. One of two, the two albums that Rod put out around this time, I think were both great. This is not quite as good, and I think but it's still a good album. And on the same date, 28th of May 71, Graham Nash from the Hollies put out Songs for Beginners. Graham Nash also from Crosby, Stills and Nash and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. And of the two, this one just edges it for me. I think Rod's other album is stronger. Okay, now we've got, where are we going now? 79, 2nd of October 1979, The Police, Regatta de Blanc. I blow hot and cold with The Police. Yeah, I've kind of given up all their albums, got back all their albums, given up all their albums, and I've currently got all their albums in the collection. I'm warming more to them over the last couple of years. But yeah, The Police, Regatta de Blanc. So if you like, The Police are the kings of cod reggae, of faux reggae. So going up against them on the same date, 2nd of October 79, Bob Marley and the Wailers' Survival album. So not the pinnacle of Bob Marley and the Wailers' output in my mind, but I'll go for this authentic reggae over the pop and pop reggae of The Police. And then finally, another battle of the labels. 7th of November 1969, we've got Battle of the Vertigo Swirl labels. So for Bill Vinyl List, this is the gatefold version of Manfred Mann Chapter 3's debut album. Gatefold with a Vertigo Swirl, Manfred Mann Chapter 3, kind of heavy bluesy proggy rock. And on the same date, Colosseum released the Valentine Suite, jazz rock, jazz prog. So as I said, another Vertigo Swirl, and for me this wins out over the Manfred Mann Chapter 3 album. So there we go, 10 albums, 10 pairings to respond there on albums released on the same date. Nice idea for a thread, Rob. So yeah, cheers, bye.